Hello and welcome from me and apparently my cat, who would like to join us for this video. My name is Katie. I have a blog at katiewritestuff.com and I'm here today to talk to you about what I've made in January and what I'm planning to make for February. So let's get started if my cat doesn't mind. So we'll begin with what I'm wearing, which I am calling a wearable toile because it's a little too big. One of my super skills in sewing is making things that are too big. One of my aims for this year is to stop making things that are too big. Hopefully not to start making things that are too small. So I made this wearable toile using Enid Gilchrist's 70s styles. I actually have two versions of this, and the reason I use this one is because it has a block in inches on one side and centimeters on the other, so I can roll it up using my centimeter measures rather than having to revert to inches. I did draw the block up according to my measurements and it's still too big, so what I'm planning to do when I try and make a dress the next time is maybe cut off the seam allowances that you have to add in and just tweak some other things, and hopefully that will fit me a little better. So I usually do a lined bodice. This first time I haven't done a lined bodice. So first time I made bias binding to do the edges for the neck and sleeves. So I got a bit excited about how easy it is to make bias binding. So I have a bit of that left. So that's good, I think. What I do with this was my first time doing a lat zipper for a dress. I've done it on skirts before. One of my other sewing superpowers is the ability to put the zip on the wrong side. It was meant to be zip on this side, pocket on this side. It's zip on this side and pocket on this side. So it's, like I said, not the first time I've done this. One of my other aims for this year is to work out why I do this so consistently and fix it. But you know, I've still got a zip and a pocket. They're just not where I want them to be. This is the actual front bodice piece, and as you can see it's kind of up close and personal with my neck, and the sleeves went way out here, so obviously I didn't want it to look like that, but I cut it out as is, sewed up the darts, sewed up the shoulders, whacked it on and put pins where I wanted, say, the neckline to fall and the sleeves to come. I could probably have brought those in a bit more now that I'm thinking about it, and then I just folded it in half and drew a curve with my French curve, which hangs up there, which is why I'm pointing in that direction, and chopped it out and sewed it up. And considering this material is not very expensive and I still have quite a lot of it left, I wasn't too worried about stuffing anything up. I've never had a neckline sit so flat on any commercial pattern, so I'm very happy with that. I think the bust darts are in a great place, but I've just got to tweak the size. The skirt is basically just a dirndl skirt. I cut a couple of lengths of the material of the same height roughly, gathered and chuck them on. We whack things and we chuck things when we're doing sewing in Australia. So it still needs some hemming, which I will do because apparently on Monday it's going to be 38 degrees Celsius, and I think a loose fitting cotton dress might be just the thing. I am also going to make a self belt to go with it, but the belting has yet to arrive, so in the meantime obviously I have other belts that will do. That's my sewing for January, the rest is knitting. So the first thing I finished this year was a pair of socks. These are made from wool I received for Christmas, which is really nice. I'm pretty sure it has every colour in the world in it. It's not wool I choose for myself because I can just about deal with socks that mostly match, but I prefer them to actually match, which is why a lot of my socks are solid colours. But it's really nice to wear, and you know, as soon as it's under 38 degrees I might be able to wear them. I made these with my own pattern, which I sort of cobbled together from bits and pieces of other patterns. And normally I would do a different colour heel and toe because I love that, but I didn't think there wasn't going to be too much of a sort of jog in a pattern there, so I didn't bother. I'm going to cheat and say I finished this, but like the dress there are a couple of things to finish. It's a cardigan. I know it looks long and skinny, but when I wear it it'll squish out to the right size because the pattern's a bit stretchy like that. It just needs 4 more buttons attached. I was doing them at work on Friday, and unfortunately I only had my wool needle and it only fitted through the holes of 3 of these buttons, so I have to finish the 4 off and then I'll be able to wear that. And that was made with this Sun Glow pattern called Nielsen Park. This is again a PDF scan that I bought from Etsy. I do have plenty of actual Sun Glow pattern books that I bought myself, but I just haven't made anything from them yet. But I love Sun Glow. I love the way they do cardigans because you don't have to knit a separate button band. You knit it as you go on the front and back pieces, and then when you cast off the shoulders, you just knit the ribbing band for about that much longer, and then you join it up at the back when you sew everything together. Because I love cardigans, but I hate knitting 7 stitches back and forth and back and forth and back and forth for a million miles until you have the button band to sew on. So that's why I love Sun Glow cardigans. So that concludes, that's because, you know, this is a formal video and thus concludes the first part of the video. So those are my makes for January. I will now move this off my table and bring on the makes for February that I'm hoping to get to. I have a few things lined up to make for February. The knitting things may not happen, but I'm going to start them in February at the very least. The first is a skirt in this sort of boucle semi-stretch fabric. It's definitely fabric that I accidentally bought at Spotlight. I was intending to get a pinstripe. They didn't have any nice pinstripes, but they had this. So I'm making this from a block, again from the Enid Gilchrist book. And I've done the darts, but I've just tacked the side seams. And again, superpower, it's too big. So I will be pinning where I want it to go, and I'll sew that up, and then like basically all I have to do is the zip, presumably put that on the wrong side as per my other super skill, and a pocket and hem, as you normally do with skirts. That's a skirt that I'm hoping I can wear. Apparently all of my cats have to be in the video today. That's a skirt I'm hoping to wear mostly for work. The second piece of clothing I'm going to make is a top, and this has already been cut out and I've marked the darts, but I haven't done any sewing on it. But it is to match this skirt because I read about the sort of fake dresses that you used to have in the 50s where you'd have a top and a skirt that went together to make a dress, but you could pull apart to increase your wardrobe, since there weren't a lot of fabrics available until synthetics came in later in the 50s. So I wanted to make my version of that. This is the skirt bit, which is the basic self-drafted dirndl skirt from Gertie's new book for better sewing. Thanks Missy, thank you, that's very helpful. Miraculously I got the zip on the right side on this one, but this is such, I don't even know what this material is. I got it at an op shop, second-hand shop, whatever you'd like to call it. It's so floaty and I can scrunch it up into a ball and it doesn't even care. So I'm making a top to match that, and it is this top here from Vogue Korea, which is from, there is a date on here, 1988. So clearly the shoulder pads I will not be using. I did think this was a sort of grown-on kimono sleeve, and that would be nice and easy, but no, it's a self-lined sleeve. So there are in fact 4 sleeve pieces that I've cut out to make 2 sleeves, but it's the style that I wanted, so hopefully that will work out nicely. So I have this issue with my wardrobe and that it's all prints. So I had a firmware to myself and I said, you need some more neutrals in your wardrobe. Let's start with tops. So apparently black and white polka dots is my idea of a neutral. This is, I don't even know what this is either. I got it from an op shop. All I know is that I could put this over the lens of my camera and still film fine. So I'm going to be learning how to do French seams with that. And clearly wearing something very solid underneath. And I'll be using something else I found at a second-hand shop, which is this pattern from Simple Sew Lottie blouse and skirt. So for my knitting, I like to have 2 projects on the go, one big one that I do at home. If I'm watching TV, I have to be knitting, otherwise I feel like I'm wasting my time. So my big one at the moment is, I've just finished the front. I've already done the back, and this is the front. So it's this cute little cable yoke flecky wool dealie. The wool was terribly expensive. I got it for free. A slight issue is that I don't think there's enough to do the sleeves, so I'm going to have to find a similar wool and do some sort of stripy business on that. My next one is my small pattern, and that's going to be gloves, and that's going to be from this amazing book. I was so lucky last year. I received whole batches of old knitting books from my grandmother-in-law, I guess, and I'd seen this book online and I favoured it on Etsy, and I'd sat there and thought, can I really spend that much money on a knitting book? And then it was given to me and I was beyond excited, because it is like 1940s World War II era knitting. But even better is I'd already planned to make this pattern, and I had a dodgy version of it from the internet. I was ridiculously excited to find a proper version that I can actually read and use, of Lacy Gloves, The Craze of the Age. And this was apparently originally printed in the October 1942 issue of the Australian Women's Weekly, and was so popular they had to reprint it in this. Colour is this beautiful teal. Where the heck did I get this? Oh, from Oz Spinners, which is a woolen mill in a town called Wangaratta, and they basically produce all the famous brands in Australia. I've never had a cone of wool before, but now I do. Well, not for long. It's going to be gloves. So those are my plans, and that's what I've made for this month. I will see you again next week, because I've decided to set myself the challenge of doing these videos once a week for a couple of reasons. Mostly because I didn't sew as much as I wanted to last year, and I feel if I need to make videos every week about what I'm sewing, that might encourage me to do it a bit more. If any of you think you can solve my problem of putting zips on the wrong side every time, please help me out. I would be so appreciative. Thank you for watching. I'll see you again next week, and happy knitting and sewing in the meantime. Goodbye.